Hey everybody, welcome back to King Z giving his solo version of Episode 6 of Ahsoka Far, Far Away. Before I get into this episode and my thoughts and what I took from this episode, I'd like to say thank you for all the great support you guys gave us through our last solo videos that came out last Friday. These are suspected to be dropping this Friday. We so happy with all the comments that we received, all the interaction. That's why we do this. We're looking for that interaction. So if you do like what you hit that thumbs up because it does help the channel, gets us in the algorithm a little bit. Make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what you think, what we got right, what we got wrong, what are your theories. Also, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss when new content drops. And with all that said, let's get into the episode. Episode 6, Ahsoka, Far, Far Away. Now, my initial take of this episode is I didn't know what to expect coming into this one. I didn't know where they were going to go. Like, episode 5 was hinted at early in the internets, on the interwebs. They're telling us what was going to happen with Anakin coming back. So episode 6, I didn't know where or what they're going to pick up on. So watching the episode, I didn't know where we're going. So we start off with our heroes inside the whale's mouth, our Jonahs, traveling through hyperspace. Now, my first take is that the hyperspace in this episode looks amazing in these whales. This nature version of hyperspace looks awesome. It's more colorful, it's more vibrant, it's not just blue. Like when you're in a ship in Star Wars, you're going through hyperspace, it's blue. But the Progs version, I think because it's more natural of them going through hyperspace, that it's just a little bit different. It was a lot more colorful, a lot more vibrant. I took that, loved the visual. The visual was awesome. We get with Ahsoka and Hyjin sitting in there, and they start talking about stories and how he used to teach them stories from the history of the galaxy, part 1, part 2, and part 3, when they were younglings back in the Jedi Temple. She even haunted at that, said that history of the episode. She also said that History of the Galaxy 1 was the best one. A lot of people think that they're talking about the original trilogy when they did this and just dropped that the first one was the best one, even though Empire Strikes Back is probably, it's in the category of one of the best sequels ever in a movie franchise. Empire Strikes Back, Godfather Part 2, these are some of the greatest sequels ever made, and always be in history as that. But anyways, they go on and he starts telling a new story where he goes a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Now that cuts through the whole intro of Ahsoka and then leads into the episode. So the whole episode is 47 minutes long. If you cut 7 minutes, you can cut 7 minutes out with the recap, the intro, the cold open, then the opening credits, and then the closing credits. 7 minutes. So about 40 minutes of actual episode, which goes in with one of the longer episodes of this series so far. Now, this whole episode is without Ahsoka. That opening intro was all you see of Ahsoka in this whole episode. So the name character is not even in this episode, and it's one of the better ones. So I don't know what that says for the character or what they're doing in the series. Now, I love Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. I love her as an actress. You can almost call her the queen of the nerds because of all of her ties into nerdom. Like, you have her in Kevin Smith films, in Clerks 2. You have her in all the Netflix Marvel shows. She was the tying thread between all of them that led to the Defenders. Whatever your thoughts on that, go ahead, leave us a comment what you thought of the Defenders or Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones. Let us know what you thought of that series down there. Maybe we might do a sideshow on one of those, some reviews on those episodes. But anyways, moving on to this one. Like I said, that's all you saw of Ahsoka in this whole episode is that opening. Now we get to the hyperspace ring, coming out of hyperspace, in this new galaxy by the planet of Perdea, which is the home of the Night Sisters. And what you notice about this whole planet throughout the whole episode is that this is not a planet of life. This is a planet of death. And they hinted at the very beginning where they talked about where this is the Purgle graveyard, which are the space whales. This is where they go to die, not where they go to breed, which a lot of people thought at the beginning of this, like with their migration tunnel. This is not where they go to breed. This is where they go to die. And then you notice like the whole planet itself is kind of in a decay, dying state. So they come out of hyperspace and they come flying down in a shuttlecraft. Now this is one of my first nitpicks of this episode, is this shuttlecraft that they're flying on. Like, you start off by seeing the outside of it flying through space, nothing really tell there. You see the inside with everyone pretty much having enough room, but when it's landed and you see the scale of people to the scale of the shuttlecraft that's on screen, it looks kind of like a clown car. Like, I was shocked that many people fit in it because it looks so small. So, little nitpick, pulling hairs here. But yeah, that's my nitpick. But as we get into this planet in this episode, it is full of symbolism with a lot of calls to history and Earth mythology. Like the whole Night Sisters backstory of how they went forward and that this is their home world, and there's three. So let's break this down a little bit. All right, so you have the Night Sisters of Dartmouth, which is Lady Morgan's ancestor, witch wielding ancestors. Now, you could tell that this place was the home of their whole order of their empire, and that they were the first ones to be able to use the probes to travel hyperspace, which they did colonize a planet in the primary galaxy, the Star Wars galaxy, which you saw in Clone Wars. And the reason why the Emperor wiped them out is because they have a tie to the Force that's different and could be more powerful than what the Sith themselves have. So that's why he ordered them to be wiped out, every last one of them. Also in this, you see that the landscape of this world, a lot of people are tying it to Lord of the Rings. Like, they're tying a lot of what you see in this whole series to Lord of the Rings. Like, you had Ahsoka, who went from Ahsoka the Grey to Ahsoka the White, just like Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White. A lot of the visuals of the planet could be tied to some of the things that were in, like, the tower at the very beginning where they land. They said that kind of looks like Mordor with the Sauron's tower. And then, like, you have the Forgotten Kings where you have some statues in there. Now, one of the other things that they talked about a lot about these sisters is that the Force that the Jedi and the Sith use are from all around, where if you look at the Night Sisters, it's more from the planet itself. It's why a lot of their structures are built into the ground to absorb the power of the planet, which gives their weaves, as they refer to it, their power. So you did see that, you could look at like modern day Wiccans and they believe in, the earth, and like that is in like it comes from the earth. That's what they believe. So the other thing you have in this is a lot of symbolism to Greek mythology, as well as Greek symbolism throughout. So you have the three witches that I don't know their names off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that, but they could be tied to the three fates. Their names are very similar to the three fates, so you have that tie. And then when you come to witches, you usually have a what do they call themselves? I mean, like, let's look at Hocus Pocus. There's 3 witches. Here, there's 3 witches. And, like, they come in series of 3. They're 3 balls that they had. It's kind of like the crystal balls that they had in Clone Wars, where later they, imprison Sabine and put her in a prison before they release her on her errand. So as we go through the episode, we'll talk about more of these symbolisms. So next you see Sabine trying to use the Force once again, and things start shaking. You're like, oh no, she's doing it. No, that's just the Death Star. Not Death Star, I'm sorry. Star Destroyer. The Chimera. Thrawn's personal Star Destroyer. Now, they kept the Star Destroyer accurate to the damage that it took from the probes from Rebels. And then you can see a little bit of his special style. Like you see like some gold on the outside and like different shapes, because Thrawn is very into art. He's very into culture. One of the things that made him a great tactician, he talks about this in Rebels, is that you can't just understand people's tactics and motives. You got to understand their culture, their art. From that, he can break down and how to destroy a civilization from the very roots of it, not just through a military tactician. So, of course, they portrayed that perfectly with Grand Admiral Thrawn. And that leads me to the biggest point of this whole episode, of the whole series that we've all been waiting for. Because people who are fans of the Heir to the Empire series, fans of the Thrawn series, fans of Rebels, wanted to see live action Grand Admiral Thrawn. And we finally get it in this episode. Episode 6. It took 6 episodes to get there to Admiral Thrawn. Portrayed by Lars Mikkelsen, who was also the voice actor of Grand Admiral Thrawn in the Rebel series. So he's reprising the role in full makeup, full costume in this series. Now, Lars Mikkelsen has a titled Star Wars series. His brother, Mads Mikkelsen, plays Grayson in Rogue One, the father of Jyn, and as well as the person who worked on the Death Star and the one who actually put in the vent that led to the destruction of the Death Star. So, huge Star Wars ties already. So, we're going to keep going. You see his legion of Star Troopers, and I'm going to call them a legion because they look like the Lost Legion. Like you have the Greek mythology on Captain Enoch's face. Now, Enoch is a very biblical reference. He was from the book of Genesis. So you have a lot of, I said throughout earlier, there's a lot of symbolism in this. It would take probably 2 to 3, maybe even 4 watch throughs to catch all the different little symbols and stuff that they have in there. I remember one of the articles were talking about like they're breaking down the runes, which the runes at the end in the credits can be translated, and it gives hints at the what we were expecting in the series. These runes will show up in the tower that Braylon and Shin ride out of later. Now, as we're continuing on in this episode, we have like the Legion here, and you have just like the Enoch has like the Greek gold face that they used to put on the dead people. So they could live on with their symbolism impressed in gold. Like it's just like the stormtroopers look old and dirty, like not the pristine all white stormtroopers you had from A New Hope and from all the other Star Wars. Like they look dirty, they look dingy, they look like they just got out of like a battle in a swamp. Like you didn't see that exile of them has paid their toll. Like even Grand Admiral Thrawn, who wouldn't let a drop of anything on his all-white uniform, but you didn't see like a little stain on his left breast pocket and like a little like some loose threads on, like you could tell that exiles paid its toll on the pristine Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, you get Sabine and you get Thrawn's interaction where Thrawn lives up to who Thrawn is, and he is a man of his word. Even though he's evil, he's a man of his word, and he let her go to find Ezra. Now, of course, he's going to use this to his own advantage because he wants to wipe out Ezra and Sabine. He sees them both as loose threads, and we know that loose threads have betrayed him before in the Legend series of the books, where his personal bodyguard betrayed him because of what Leia did to the bodyguard's planet, and by befriending them and like saving them from something, he felt loyalty to Leia, which led him to betray Thrawn. Now, Thrawn doesn't like loose ends. He has Braylon and Shin, gives them permission to chase them down and destroy them. So now we get into a little bit about Braylon and Shin. Braylon is recognized by Grand Admiral Thrawn from his Order 66 days. He referred to him as General Braylon in this. And he's like, you were Jedi. He's like, I have left the Jedi Order. He's like, as many others have as well. Which is a good callback to, of course, Anakin leaving the Jedi Order and becoming, of course, Darth Vader. And in the comic series, Thrawn figured out that Vader was Anakin. He was one of the first people to figure it out, other than the Emperor. Not many people knew that Anakin was Vader, and Thrawn figured out from just being the genius that he is, and of course, like, deductive reasoning. So from here, we're switching modes. We're switching out of the Greek mythology, and we're switching modes into classic westerns. So you have Sabine riding out of the tower as Thrawn starts making preparations to leave exile, as he referred to it there. And you see, they talked about like getting prepared to leave, and she's like, I've seen the catacombs. It's going to take about 3 cycles for us to load. He goes, that is reasonable. Let's make it happen. And in his cool, calm demeanor, that is Grand Admiral Thrawn. So Sabine heads out. She has a battle with some locals, using both blaster and lightsaber in this battle. First the blasters and then the lightsaber, deflecting a blaster bolt right into a dude's face, which, like, ow, dude, come on. But you didn't see symbolism in the locals' face, in the locals' costumes. It looks like classic Japanese samurai-ish type armor on them. Also red, a lot of red throughout here, like the Night Sisters wearing red. You see the stormtroopers have red like cloth inside their uniforms. Now this could be a call to that they just don't care about their appearance anymore, or, which I'm going to talk about in just a little bit, one other thing that it could mean. So let's just jump back to Sabine real quick as she's riding off, and her and the wolf creature called a howler get into it because she thinks it was a chicken for leaving her there, and then it came back and like they became friends, and she's like, she was using a human tracker, the same type that, or a life form tracker, the same type that Han Solo was using to track down Luke in Empire Strikes Back. She had one as well. In this battle with these locals, tribe, I was taking them as this planet's version of sand people. That's what I took it as. Destroyed that, so now she has no way of really tracking down life forms. And so she relies on her now trusty steed of a howler to help her track down Ezra on this planet. Now, we're going to jump back to Thrawn and in this tower and my theories on this lost Roman legion of stormtroopers. And with the refer to Enoch, based on their appearance, the covering of red, and then later where Thrawn was like, we're going to need more of your dark magic, and referring to that Jedi and Sith use death and resurrection as their own deceiving point. It could be said that these stormtroopers are undead. We saw a little hint of that when they were fighting Merrick, the dual-wielding lightsaber masked man earlier in the season, earlier in the series, who was killed and turned into green dust. The same thing could be said that that's what these stormtroopers are, with Captain Enoch as one as well. That's why his helmet has the gold death mask. I mean, when I saw his mask, first thing I thought of was Gladiator. When he fought the former champion and he had like the whole like human face mask, full mask, I thought, which looked really cool in Gladiator, looks really cool on Captain Enoch as well in this. So we get back to Sabine. Now somehow the Howler understands her, and with no type of scent whatsoever, it tracks down these shell people, or rock turtles. I'm going to call them rock turtles. And then these rock turtles don't really understand what she's saying, but they pick up on symbols, and she's wearing the Rebel Alliance New Republic symbol on her shoulder, and they show that they're wearing a necklace that's like the same, and she thinks it's Ezra, and she's like, can you take him to me? And all of a sudden we have like new Jawans leading them to supposedly Ezra. So with nothing to smell, not truly knowing where to start, in less than a day on a foreign planet, she tracks down her friend with these shell rock turtles, because they look like rocks. When they put their shell up, they hide in the rocks. They use their shells as protection, the camouflage to look like rocks. That's why I'm calling them rocks. And you can tell that they live in a caravan type life. When you get to their little village, you see that they have these giant shells that they tend to live in. You have like a little shell rock, a rock turtle inside a hammock, like a little baby, and the mother's there rocking, looking at this Sabine, like, oh, what is this? Like, you've never seen it before. Apparently you have one living with you. So she tracks down Ezra, and they have their big reunion between Sabine and Ezra, and they talked about it was a very kind of awkward conversation. I do like the look of Ezra in this. Like, he looks like a man who's been in exile, who's taken to the local. He's grown up, facial hair. What's really good is that the hair, makeup, facial hair, costuming makes him look just as his dad did in that painting in Rebels. So it ties him right in to what Ezra would look like. Was this like 10 years later from the time he disappeared? So hats off to you, hair, makeup, and wardrobe. You really did your due diligence in making Ezra look proper. So once again, hats off to the production team in this. That they deserve all the flowers they can get on this. So this pretty much wraps up the episode. You have Thrawn loading up these crates that were down in the catacombs, which a lot of people believe that these are also dead stormtroopers that they can bring back to life, and what could cause, be the force that he's going to bring to retake and restart the Empire in the primary galaxy when they leave here. He did have a really cool line, like, you wagered your whole galaxy for Ezra? Like, he wouldn't believe that someone would do so much for just one person. Even sacrificing the whole galaxy, a new war for one person. But a lot of people don't understand true friendship and what they actually mean to each other. So, great line. So, let's get into my overall. I believe the dialogue was a lot better in this one. I believe the episode with the least amount of Ahsoka in the series Ahsoka was one of the better ones. I believe this was a really good episode. I liked all the symbolism with the tie-ins with Dune, ties in with Lord of the Rings, ties into Greek mythology, ties into even like you can see that the witches use the way they build their pillars and everything, that it has it with cosmos, kind of like Stonehenge and stuff like that. Like certain things are in certain places at certain times that are have great symbolism to who they are and who are their powers. Oh man, I can't even break down the episode time and talk about Braylon and Shin. And like we finally get a good glimpse into what Braylon's whole plan is. His whole plan is to end the cycle of light and dark, which if you look throughout all of the book series, all of the movies, TV shows, it is a roller coaster. It's the dark rises and then it collapses, and then the light rises and it collapses, and the dark rises again and it collapses. It's over and over and over again to continue for all time, and he's going to try to break it. And he mentions that he's talking about we're on this planet of children's stories, and Shin comes in like sometimes stories are just stories. But he was referring to that this planet wasn't referred to as real, but it was more of a story you tell the kids, like a folk tale. That's a good comparison, like a folk tale. So he talks about that, and then he talks a little about Ezra, like he knows who Ezra is, and he was talking about how he's a Bushido Jedi. I mean, that he was trained down in the field. He wasn't trained by the order. He wasn't trained proper, meaning he's lesser of a Jedi. And she's like, so he's like me. And he's like, he was trained as a Jedi. I trained you to be something better. Because there's a moment where she asked, like, do you miss it? He's like, I miss the idea of the Jedi Order, what it could have been. He doesn't say that, but that's pretty much what he's leaning at. Like he misses what the Jedi Order was supposed to be and not what it became. A lot of people have that about a lot of different organizations. Like you love the idea of something, but not what it actually is or what it was and what it's become. A lot of people feel that about certain political topics that I'm not going to talk about here. Maybe I should start my own podcast and talk about that. Something for maybe the future. So, like, you see a much deeper glimpse into who Braylon is and why he's doing what he's doing. Because he said that there is a power on this planet that he's going to try to either, one, wield to change things, or two, destroy. So it can break this cycle of good, evil, good, evil, good, evil. A lot of people believe that it could be he's there to kill a force type creature, or he's looking for a way into the world in between worlds where you can see the past, present, and future and change something to break it. Maybe go back and change the Jedi Order from when it became so weak it couldn't stand up, and then end up taking orders from a Sith Lord. Or, yeah. Tell me what you think he's there to do. Leave it in the comments below. I'll open it up to you guys. If you guys stayed this long, remember to hit that like and subscribe and the notification bell. Now, back into my breakdown, as I totally forgot about Braylon there. Now I got it back into my breakdown. I think the Braylon story was great. I think the interaction between Braylon and Shin, great. Great pupil to master. And then the pupil asking questions and maybe even knowing a little bit more, or like hinting at stuff to get him to think a little bit different. But He's a driven man. I love the dynamic between them two because she doesn't try to one-up him. She asks questions so she can understand. Then you have the whole reunion. We finally see Ezra. We finally see Thrawn. I'm going to give this show probably the highest rating out of all of the episodes so far, even though I did like episode 1 and episode 2. You know how I feel about episode 3. Episode 4 was a little bit better. Episode 5 was a lot of hype, not enough payoff. But this episode is what we've been waiting for. Episode 6. 2 episodes left. So I would give this a 4.1 out of 5 just because I really enjoyed this episode. Thank you for sticking with me as I break down and ramble on like a madman. You guys are madmen and mad women for watching me this long. I really appreciate it. And with that said, the camera goes black.